The Bestop Supertop NX in Beige Twill is for those of you that have a 2007 to 2018 four-door JK that are looking for an incredibly high quality and very complete soft top that's also going to have a unique color. Bestop did not offer a lot of colored tops before now. From the factory, you were only able to get black, so this is going to be a newer top out on the market as of right now. This is going to be a nice easy top to install, 1 out of 3 wrenches. It will take around 4 hours according to Bestop, but we're going to show you exactly how to do that in just a second. So when we are talking about soft tops, you're really going to find 3 different categories. One is going to be a replacement soft top. That's for those of you that already have a soft top, your frame is in good working order, and you just want to replace the soft materials and the windows, and they're going to be a little bit less expensive, and of course give you factory functionality and looks because you're using that factory frame. Then you're going to find tops like this, which I would call a complete replacement top. This is going to include your door surrounds, your tailgate bars, all of your frame and all of your hardware for your top. So that's for those of you that are coming from a hard top or a soft top that's just not in good condition, is banged up and isn't working properly. So of course these are going to be a little bit more expensive because of all the hardware that's included, but if that's what you're looking for, this is a great choice. The third option is really going to be something that is non-factory. So if you're looking for a top that doesn't look factory, either adds or subtracts factory functionality for price, then you're going to be able to find those choices as well. But again, within the complete replacement top category, which is what we're looking at right now, Bestop is one of the best that you can get. This is going to be a top that looks and functions just like a factory top. You're going to have the Sunrider feature. You're going to have the squared off back here. It's not going to be a fastback top at all. And it's just going to fit very well on the Jeep and look just like a factory top. But because this is Bestop's twill material, which is their premium material, it's going to feel great. It's going to look great. It's a little bit thicker, so it's more insulative for both sound and temperature. Just overall a very nice material. So you're getting the best of both worlds. The hardware and the software, everything is going to work great together and look really great together as well. So as far as the construction of the top, we already touched on the material, a nice heavy material here, that twill material. This does come with tinted windows. Of course, being the NX, you have the Sunrider feature, you have the ability to zip the windows out just like a factory top would. So pretty much everything you get with your factory top, you get with this, with that higher grade material. Now, because you are getting something that's so complete, including everything that we talked about, all those door surrounds, the whole frame, all the hardware, your tailgate bars, all your little clips, every little piece that you need to get this installed, and you're getting this very high quality material, this is going to be one of the more expensive tops out there. This is going to come in at just under $1,800. But if you're somebody who's running your soft top year round, you want something that looks great, it's going to hold up really well, and you're not going to have to go shopping around for this part or that part that wasn't included in the box, this is going to be an excellent choice for you. So like I said, this is a little bit of a long installation, but not a particularly difficult one. So let me go ahead and walk you through that now. Like I said before, this is a pretty easy 1 out of 3 wrench installation, but there are a lot of pieces, a lot of hardware, and a lot of little steps that you need to take to get this installed and to get it installed properly. So do take your time. Manufacturer says this should take us about 4 hours, and it will probably take every bit of that. Also, remember, right off the bat, take the soft components out of the box, put them out in the sun, put them in your front yard if you can, let them bake, let them heat up. That's going to make everything a lot more pliable and stretchy and make it that much easier to get the top installed. So we're going to start with step 1 of the instructions, which is assembling your door surround. So this is your door surround. This is going to be the driver's side surround, and then there's a small bracket that you have to bolt onto the top of the surround. So we're going to go ahead and do that. There are a couple of pre-drilled holes in the top of the header here, and this is just going to line up with that rear set right here. And then you have some nut and bolt hardware to attach. Then we'll go ahead and tighten that hardware down. Now we'll just repeat the same process for the passenger side. Now that we have the door surrounds assembled, we'll go ahead and install them on the Jeep. So this is the passenger side rear. It's going to go right behind the rear door here. There's a little bit of an indexing pin on the bottom that's going to index into the bottom of the tub, so you can make sure you get that lined up properly there. And then there's a plastic C that sits around your sport cage up here. So again, that's going to really only sit one way. And you have your large thumb screw, the longer thumb screw, that's going to get installed right back here. Through the sport cage and then thread into itself. Now you are going to do the same thing on the other side, but before we move to the other side, we're actually going to install the front half of the door surround, which installs very much the same way. So this piece is going to go right in front of the piece we just installed. Again, it slides over the sport cage, and it really only sits one way. It kind of sits nicely down on the piece that we just installed and into the windshield header, and you use the same thumb screws here to attach it onto the sport cage. So there's a long thumb screw that goes up front here, and then a shorter one that goes in the back. And once all three of those thumb screws are tight, you can go ahead and move to the other side. So the next step is to install these top arches, and these are really there to keep the top from fluttering and flapping too much in the wind, and they really just sit into those door surrounds that you just installed. You just have to bow it a little bit, give it a little bit of pressure, it'll snap right into place. And then there is a bit of a protective piece over top of it that you can peel off while you're up here as well. So that's for the front arch, and then there's the same thing in the rear. Now we're going to install these brackets onto our sport cage. This already has some tapped holes right in it, right from the factory, so you don't have to drill anything. It makes this very, very simple. And there's some hardware that's included in the kit here. So just go ahead and insert this right through the roll bar padding. Get a couple of turns on these by hand, and then we're going to drive them in with the impact just to speed things up a bit. Then we do the same thing over on the other side. Now we're going to pop these tailgate retaining clips in place. This is very simple. There's no hardware. They really just snap into the J channel on the top of the tub. And as with everything else, they're very clearly labeled. This one here is for the right side. This one is for the left. So we'll snap those in now. Now we're going to start installing some of the bow assembly onto the soft top itself. Now with the Super Top, the header's already installed on the soft canvas material, which is a very, very nice first step. So all we have to do is attach these bows into the header. It's important to figure out which side is which here. Again, the instructions are very, very clear. So when we're holding it in this orientation, we know that this is going to be on the left side of the Jeep. We also know that this hook here needs to go toward the inside of the vehicle. So all you really have to do is slide this into the hole in the header and bolt it down. But in order to get to the space where you can install these screws properly, there's a small protective flap that you need to fold back first. So remove these two screws, fold the flap back, and install two new screws before installing the protective flap back in place. Now there are going to be two bow assemblies that we're going to attach onto the bracket that we bolted up to the back of the sport cage. This is the first one. This is bow assembly number 3. And this is going to go on these larger upper holes that protrude out a little bit on the bracket. These are very easy to install. There's actually no hardware at all. These are spring-loaded clips. So you simply pull the pin out a little bit, and then it'll snap back in place again. Do the same thing on the other side here. And then you're done with that one, and then we'll install the bow assembly number 4 that goes directly below that. We'll go ahead and install the next bow assembly that goes underneath the one we just installed. Installs in much the same way onto the same bracket, just by pulling the spring-loaded pins. The next step is going to be installing these canvas straps that go between bow assembly 3 and 4 that we just installed on the Jeep. And there are pre-punched holes in the canvas pieces. There are also pre-drilled holes in the metal bow assemblies. Even with that being said, this is my least favorite part of installing a soft top. It can be a little bit difficult to get these screws lined up to go into the bow assembly straight, but like with anything else, take your time and you'll be able to get this done, no problem. So now we'll attach the other end of our canvas strap onto bow assembly number 4. This first screw is going to be a little bit tough to get in because you'll have to hold things up in the air, get it all lined up, but of course once the first one's in, then the strap will hold the weight of the bow and the rest will be a little bit easier. So I'm going to start with the middle screw on this side here. We'll get it pushed through the canvas first, get it lined up with the hole, and go ahead and drive it in. We'll go ahead and put the other 2 screws in the same way. Push it through the canvas, get it lined up with the metal, and then drive it in. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So the next part we're going to install is this other bow assembly. This is bow assembly 2, and this gets attached onto the assembly we attached onto the header. So to get everything in place, you really set the header in its spot where it's going to go on top of the windshield frame, but leave the rest of the material draped over the hood just so it's not in your way. That way you can set bow assembly 2 into its position where it roughly is right now, and then go ahead and use your nut and bolt hardware to get it attached. So we're going to start in the front here. There are a couple of small plastic bushings that you need to put on either side of the metal, just so you don't have any metal to metal contact and everything continues to work and move very smoothly. So it can be a little bit difficult to get these set in place and get all of your nut and bolt hardware started. So again, like everything else, just take your time with it. So we'll get that dropped in where it goes here. Get your bolt started through from the inside out, and then your nylon locking nut on the back side. And we'll go ahead and tighten that down while we're here. And then we can move on to the rear. Pretty much the same situation here, we're just going to use a longer bolt. And the same thing here, as you can see, bolt is going to be a little bit longer because it's going through more material, but same deal, you have a plastic bushing on the outside, then your metal bar, plastic bushing on the inside. Pass the bolt through the other bow assembly and attach the nut on the other side. Once you're done on this side, you can move over to the other side and do the same thing. So what we're really doing is working from the front to the back, attaching all of the bow assemblies to each other and onto the door surrounds. So what we're going to do now is actually clip this assembly into the door surround completely. And this is a spring-loaded mechanism so that you can very easily go from your Sunrider feature with just the front of the top flip back to the top completely back. And as you can see, this plastic nub sits underneath this spring-loaded metal lever here. So that's sitting in place firmly. We'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side before attaching the rear of the bow to the bow behind it. So this is just a matter of putting the metal piece in between the two plastic pieces there. And then you have this screw here that has a nice big shoulder on it that you'll put through and tighten down. And that is a Torx head bolt that you can tighten down. The next couple of steps require flipping the rest of the soft top over the frame and then folding back the Sunrider feature, so we're going to do that now. Now that we have all of this area bunched up and there's no tension on this cable, we can attach the spring to the bracket here. So we'll feed that in from the inside through the hole. Now that's in place, and we're going to do that on the opposite side as well. But before we move over there, there are a couple of pieces of weather stripping to put on the underside of the header, so we're going to do that. So here are the pieces of weather stripping. You can tell by looking at it which one goes on what side based on how they're cut out. This one is going to go right here. And it really just covers up these screws here so that you don't have any chafing issues. So you'll peel the backing off. This stuff is very, very sticky. Peel the backing off and set it in place. And then there's also a small strip that goes across the front here. So I'll do the same thing, peeling the backing off. And put that in place. And now we'll jump over to the other side, attaching the cable and the weather stripping over there. The last couple of steps are pretty much the same, just repeated on different bows. So you'll have a flap, a hole in the bow, and a screw. and you're going to be attaching the fabric onto the bow with that screw. So you can see here we already have a pre-punched hole in the fabric. So put the screw through there. There we go. Once it's coming out the other side, you can align the point of the screw with the hole in the bow. And then go ahead and drive that in. And this is going to be similar to where we attached the canvas straps before. It can be a little bit difficult to get these started straight, so just take your time, be careful with it. And we'll just move on down the line, following the same process. The next step is more of the same, another flap that you have to attach to another bow. Start the screw through the fabric first, then line up the screw with the hole and drive it in. This is actually a detail that I really like about the Bestop tops, is that they show you where to put the screw through the fabric. A lot of other manufacturers don't do that, and you can end up with some pulling and wrinkling of the top after you're finished with the installation. So I do really like that. And this is just more of the same on the front hoop. Put the screw through the fabric and then through the metal. Once you have all the screws in that go through the canvas material into the frame, all you need to do is attach the frame to the top of the windshield hinge with those quick disconnect attachments that you'll use when you're taking the top up and down in any other scenario. Pop the windows in and you're finished. So go ahead and latch the top down now. Now we're going to pop the 3 windows in place. Before we can do that, we'll have to attach the rear corners of the top to the tub. That just snaps into place using these plastic pieces on the bottom of the J channel on the top of the tub. Now you can go ahead and attach the window. Then do the same thing on the other side. Once the side windows are in place, you can install the rear window. Before you pop it into the Jeep, you just have to slide the window onto the tailgate bar. That's very easy to do. There's a round channel in the bar and a round piece on the window. They slide together like so. And then you zipper it in just like you zippered in the side windows. So if you are looking for an incredibly high quality top that's very complete and something that's going to give you a unique look because of this color, I would recommend this option from Bestop, and you can find it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.